Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of Optimize with Frances. How are you doing? How was your week? I hope fruitful, productive, and awesome. All right, on today's episode, we'll be looking at the topic the intersection between vision and faith. For the last couple of episodes, we've been talking about vision, intentional living, personal improvement, and all of that. Today, we'll be looking at the intersection, like the topic says, the intersection between vision and faith. All right. And to delve into this topic, I'll be going through a Bible story, reading from Genesis chapter 6 through chapter 8, and looking at the life of Noah. So, Noah is a man in the Bible who was given a vision by God to build an ark. So, most times we talk about Noah, we know that he had a vision to build an ark and all of that. And then he was supposed to put himself and a list of other people and animals and all of that into the ark so that they will be saved from the flood. But now I want to look at some fine details in that story that can be very, very useful to us today. So come along with me. Let's discuss. I would have loved this to be a live session where we'll have all the comments and all the interactions so I can also learn from your point of view. But sure, we can all do that in the comment section. Keep it engaging. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me your ideas. Tell me what you think from this story we're sharing together. All right. So Noah was given by an instruction by God, started in Genesis chapter 6, verse 13. And it says that the Lord told Noah. So his vision was clear. It was clearly from God, right? And for us today, our vision can be from God and it can be from different things. Maybe there's just this thing you're passionate about. You may not outrightly say it's from God, but it's just being pressed in your heart. Or something that you just think that it may just be your calling or something you just want to achieve. You know, different types of vision. I'm not going to go into that. But here in the case of Noah, his vision was from God, very clear, right? And God told him to build an ark. If you read down that chapter, what I saw there is God didn't just tell him to build an ark. He gave him specifics, details of what he wanted to see in the ark. And that brings me to my point number one. So this episode we're talking about, we're going to look at it from two angles: the vision angle and the faith angle. Under the vision angle, I have two subsections. Subsection number one is where he was told to build the ark with precision, with specifics of what God wanted to see him do. Right? So God tells him, I want it to be this layer, I want it to be this deck, I want it to be all of that in building the ark. And that brings me to my point number one in the vision: hard skills. So the fact that you have a vision, and mostly, if you're religious and you believe God gave me this vision, doesn't mean you should fold your hands and go to bed. You know, yes, it doesn't mean you might have had it in a dream and you're so convinced and persuaded in your heart that this is from God. That does not mean from this story that doesn't mean that if he says I'm going to save you from the flood and I'm going to use you to save the people from the flood so that they will not be destroyed, it doesn't mean you should lay your legs and just say he has spoken it, he will do it. From here we can see that there's a part for Noah to do. There was a part of the instruction that was for him to do. And the beautiful thing about it, he wasn't just to do it lackadaisically. He was to do it with great expertise. And that brings me to the hard skills part of it. Have you developed the hard skills required to fulfill your vision, to fulfill your purpose, to fulfill that thing you've set as your target, or that thing you've set as your goal? Remember where we all started our episodes from, right? Goal setting and the rest of it, New Year resolutions. That thing you've set, have you intentionally developed the hard skills, the technical expertise required to fulfill it. So if he says, or if God tells you, or you tell yourself, I'm going to achieve this, it may be time to start seeking mentorship in that area, to start enrolling for free online courses or even paid courses, to start looking for how to develop yourself in that area. So after I read that part of the Bible, of course, Google is your friend. I went to Google to say, what was Noah's occupation before he was assigned this task? Because I was expecting to see that he was into carpentry or boat making or stuff like that. To my surprise, Noah was a farmer. So he didn't even have the technicalities, meaning that after the vision, he had to learn. So when you have your vision, when you have your calling, when you have that purpose made clear to you by your parents, by your friends, by personal conviction, by God, have you started working on developing the expertise to build that ark? Wasn't a child, wasn't child a joking matter or a child's play. It was a lot of work. And research has it that it took years, almost 100 years to build it. So imagine that he devoted his life and his time. It wasn't entirely, he lived for a very long, Noah lived so long, but devoting, even if it's a sixth of his life, was a lot. So that vision that you have, don't just sit on it and think it's going to happen. It will just happen because God has said it. It may be time for you to get to work. Hit up those, go on LinkedIn, go on social media, go to your family and friends. Those that are already, towing that part, ask them questions, hit them up and tell them, I'm interested in this. Can you provide me support on how to start? I think I want to go into this direction and I see you already doing it. Because I don't think, since Noah was a farmer, I don't think he learned boat making all by himself. He must have leveraged people who already knew it, collaborated, and all of that, and then gotten the technical expertise to carry through the project, because it wasn't one man's project. He needed to collaborate and work with people. So that is the part of this vision I want to point out: developing hard skills. The second part of this vision that I also took note of was that from God, after telling him to build the boat and all that he had to do with the boat, there's also a human part of it where he tells him that he has to go into the boat, but not alone. Now he has to go with his wife. I'm like, it will be difficult to convince Madame, who wasn't there when you and God had this conversation. But it doesn't end there. He now says you have to go with your sons. I'm like, okay, his sons have entered this one, meaning you're not just convincing your wife, you're convincing children as well. But it doesn't end there. I now see you also have to convince your sons' wives. That is a big task, right? Because they all weren't there and they must have been asking, Dad, what's this gigantic boat you're building and all of that? So the fact that God gave you your vision, that's my point number 2 on vision, the subsect number 2. The fact that God gave you your vision, or that you are so convinced about your vision, doesn't mean that automatically, once you get the hard skills and technical expertise, you don't need the second part, soft skills. You're going to need to convince people. You're going to need to sell that vision. They weren't there when you got it. So being the very best at what you do and having learned that vision, purposeful, I'm so convinced about what I heard. So you think that automatically people should just fall in line. It doesn't work like that. So I see that Noah must have also, learned soft skills, marketing and sales. He has gotten this vision, he has run it, he's done it, he's developed it. Now it's time to convince the people who are going to get on board. So you have to learn soft skills as well. Effective communication, gentle persuasion, marketing and sales. Don't just say, God gave it to me. He that gave the vision will make everybody fall in line. I know he can help you, but you also have to learn some part of it, right? You have to learn how to communicate that, how to sell it, how to make them see that, hey, there's going to be flood. You all need to come into this boat so you'll be saved. That this my boat that I've been working on passionately is going to serve this purpose. Tell them the purpose of what you've been, those hard skills you've developed. Sell it. Sell it with proficiency. Sell it with, make it make it enticing, make them see the value add. Because from what I saw, Noah sold his vision, because when it was time for them to get on board, all the people that God told him to should get on board were on board. I'm like, hey, I wonder how he used, he was able to get everyone in. But that's also soft skills, right? So from the part of vision, remember we've talked about two things that you need to develop to make it happen. One, hard skills, the technical expertise to fulfill your vision, your purpose, that thing you've set as your goal or that God has given to you as your goal. Develop it. Meet people, network, seek mentorship, hit people up nicely and introduce yourself nicely. Hit up 10 people, at least one will respond. Do that. After you've done that and you've developed yourself, put in the hours, put in the work to learn the technicalities of, fulfilling that vision or that purpose or that goal, achieving it. When you've learned it, you need to still sell it. Sell your product, sell your service. Learn the soft skills of marketing and sales needed to make that your products or service sell to the audience, to the target audience, right? And then something else I want to bring out. Now I talked about target audience. Also, the fact that God gave him the vision and he was so convinced and he had put in the work to build it doesn't mean that the whole world is your target audience. Yes. Know your target audience, know your market, know who is going to buy into it. Who are you building the solution for? You must identify that, clearly write it based on your vision, based on your goal. Don't be downcast when A doesn't buy into it. It may be for B, C, and D. Don't let it crush your spirit. Oh, nobody is patronizing. No one, this quality video, no one is watching it. They may not be the target audience, right? Know your target audience and continue to work to get a market share of that audience. All right? Okay. Now we are done with vision. Let's go to faith. So Noah has built his boat, the ark, and gotten the target audience and his target market, and everyone got in. And actually, it lived up to the purpose it was called for, which was to save them from the flood. Because when the flood came for 40 days, heavy rain, it was flooding, they were all saved. But after that, what next? Noah didn't know. Because after 40 days, when the rain stopped, the flood was still there. The whole place was still flooded. I can imagine this is now my imaginations in play. His wife, his sons, and his sons' wives turning to him and saying, Father Noah, what next? At that point, he doesn't know. All he knows is that they were going to be saved. But how they were going to be saved, he didn't have the fine details. And that is where faith comes into your vision, comes into your purpose, comes into your goal. There's a limit to what hard skills and soft skills can do to you or do for you. There's a limit. There's a place where you just have to have faith that God will help you and God will intervene. You may not have all the details or how that business is going to go into full flare, going to go into fruition, how the goal is going to be 100% actualized, but you know your own part of it. You have done it, the hard skills, the soft skills, but the part of how that water or that flood is going to go down, you may not know it. Acknowledge your humanity and know where your own stops, your mortality ends, and where you have to depend on the immortal to help. Right? So I know that there are times people are completely depending on God, the immortal, to help without doing their part. And some other times people are overdoing their part and thinking I got it all, and then when they are not able to acknowledge their humanity and the flood is still there after they've done all and the rain has stopped, but they don't know what next, they are freaking out, they are panicking because they feel that they don't have a solution again, they don't know where you have to have faith and depend on God for the next stage. They were in that flood for 3 months before the Lord sent the wind and blew the waters away. That's what the Bible says. At that point, I don't even know if Noah knew how that water was going to vanish. He didn't know if God was going to send a scorching sun to burn and dry it up. He didn't know. He didn't know if God was going to use a spoken word and say, flood, flood, evaporates. He didn't know. But somehow he just knew that they were going to be saved. Right? So when you've done all for your goal, all for your vision, all for your purpose, know that there's still a place of faith where your mortality ends, and it's only God that can save you through that next stage. Acknowledge that it's okay. It's okay to say, hey God, you're my only hope. I'm imagining all those times that Noah had to send the bird and to go and check if it's clear, and then the bird comes back. The waters are still there, and he turns back, and the people he has sold everything to and marketed to are there looking at him and saying, okay, at this stage, what next? Your team are looking up to you and like, what next? We've done everything right, what next? Know that what next may just be to have faith and believe. Know the right balance between what you can do, the limits to what you can do, and what you need God to help you through. All right, friends, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I want us to continue with this topic next week, to continue to tell the story of Noah. I have one more thing, I think, or two more topics to talk about Noah before our next before we delve into a brand new episode. All right, friends, until next time, have an awesome week and see you. Thanks for hanging out with me. Love you all. Bye.